If you watch this channel for any length of time, you may remember that I said I was done with comic conventions. Well, I'm back, sort of. Greetings everyone, welcome to the underground lair where we bring our creations to life. I'm Scott with Serkworks Art Labs. I'm a professional illustrator, designer, and mad creator. I also create comics, and as a comic creator, one of the things that you typically do if you create comics is go and promote those at a comic convention. And on this channel, I've done a number of videos. I used to have a series called what was it? Pro versus Con. It was basically a professional approach to doing comic conventions. So, you know, they're older videos. A lot of that stuff still holds up, but if you watch those, or I think there's a playlist on the channel, you probably see my journey from my earliest booth to, you know, what the last booth I was. And then I think probably the last video on there, I think, was me just saying, yeah, I think I'm done with cons. And this was even before COVID. I mean, I know everything went on hold with the pandemic and everything, so there were a lot of people not doing conventions. But I had decided that I was going to step away from cons basically before that happens, which I guess was sort of good for me because I didn't re-up for the next year, which ended up not happening. So yeah, I said I was done with comic conventions. I did put a few caveats in that video, I think, that I may continue doing them again. But I am going back. I am doing a Comic-Con, Phoenix Fan Fusion, formerly Phoenix Comic Con. I will be there this coming weekend if you're watching this video when it comes out, this weekend coming up. So if you want to meet me, I will be there Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, but I'm doing it a little different this time. And that goes back to some of the issues I had when I was doing cons kind of on a regular basis. So the difference is this time I'm not going to have my own booth there. And that was part of the thing. If you do go back, if you watch that playlist, you can, like I said, you can kind of see my trajectory as I had my first booth and the things I learned along the way to the point where I got the last booth I did. I thought it was great and everything, but I was putting so much time and effort into those booths, you know, getting them right and everything. And and it just seemed like the interest in sort of what I was doing was, I could kind of see the writing on the wall. It kind of waned a little bit. There were, you know, it was like diminishing returns where, you know, I was putting more money and more time. It was more of a time thing really rather than money, because I had always sort of, you know, I always made a profit from these conventions, but I realized the setup, like pre-convention, I was spending like 2 or 3 weeks setting things up, getting things ready, and that's a lot of time, and you have to factor that in as, you know, time that you're not able to spend on other things that can bring in, bring in an income. And it just wasn't worth it for me. And I don't think I'm alone, because I talked to a lot of other professionals that had been really successful doing conventions, and they noticed that, you know, every year it just wasn't what it was like the previous year. So that's kind of one of the reasons. So why am I back? Like I said, I'm not gonna have my own booth or anything. I was invited to kind of do a signing, you know, those 3 days throughout the weekend at my local comic book store, Surprise Comics. So I will be at their booth, and I'll be just doing sketching and remarks and sketch covers and things like that, which is also odd because that's one thing that I hadn't done when I had my own booth. If you watch the old videos, you see that for me, it was important to interact with people, and I was always of the opinion that it's kind of hard to interact with people if you're kind of, your head's down, you know, and you're drawing and you don't see the people walking by and everything. Plus it's constantly, if you have other merchandise, you're drawing a little bit, then you have to take your attention away from that, and then, oh, now I get back to the drawing and all that. And a lot of times I didn't have time to do all that, especially because I was, most of the time it was kind of like a one-man show. This is going to be a little different. I have done signings at, you know, like Free Comic Book Day and things like that for my local comic book store. So I thought this would be a good opportunity for me because it takes a lot of that pressure, all of that, the stuff that I ended up not like, all the time setting up, and like I said, I was really happy with the booth and everything, and what I was presenting out there. But the other thing is, Comic Cons have changed. You know, it wasn't, you know, me selling my comics or the merchandise and things that I was selling. None of that, for one of the things was, none of that was like fan art related. So, I mean, fan art does really well at these shows typically. Maybe not as much now, because I mean, there's so much other people doing the same kind of fan art, but I had my own original ideas, and that's kind of a hard sell to people that aren't familiar with that. For all of those reasons, that's kind of why I stepped away, and this time I'm just going to go by, I'm going to just do some commissions, some sketches, and just have fun. And it's the cool thing for me is I think I'm going to be able to enjoy the con in a way that I wasn't able before, because I always enjoyed conventions. I enjoyed, you know, tabling and interacting with everyone, and I still get to do that, but I also get to step away because I'm not the only artist that's going to be there. There'll be other artists, and we can kind of like trade back and forth, and you know, I'll have plenty more time to go, you know, walk the floor, maybe go to some panels and things, which before I was, you know, I was able to step away if I had somebody to watch my booth, but I always felt rushed in things like, oh, I got to get back to the booth and everything. So it's going to be a little different. And the other good thing about what I'm doing now is I don't have to make any money. I mean, I'm not, I'm being brought out there, you know, everything's paid for me. I don't have to worry about, oh, I've got to make enough money to make my table and then make a profit and all this stuff. So, you know, I'm just gonna go hang out. If I don't get any commissions, I'm okay with that. I don't really need to make money at this. I'm just kind of there, you know, one, to represent my local comic book store, two, to have some fun doing sketches if I get commissioned to do some. And I've also decided that I'm not gonna, I think a lot of people they just don't charge enough for original sketches and everything. So I'm going to charge what I think my work is worth, and if that price kind of, if I price people out of that, you know, because the other thing I don't want to do is if you price too low, you're going to get so many commissions, you're just going to be there day and night, you know, and that's going to be back to where I'm not going to be able to walk the floor because I'm going to be doing all these sketches. So I'm going to bump the prices up a little bit, but still reasonable for original art. You know, you're going to get a good deal, but you know, but I'm not going to just basically give this stuff away with which you know, a lot of people kind of do. So, and I'll have different price, you know, I'll do some smaller things. There'll be different price ranges for like sketch cards and sketch covers and whatever. So yeah, I you know, whatever I do pull in, I'll probably just spend it on the floor, because like I said, I'm not there to make a profit or anything, so I'll be able to go out and support other comic book artists and things like that. So, you know, it's going to be a lot different, and I plan to come back following the convention and kind of give you guys an update, let you know sort of the differences, what I found. And also, after this, even if I was doing conventions, this would probably be my first convention back, because, you know, conventions really weren't happening to the extent that they are now, kind of getting back to the way things were. So I'm anxious to see how things have changed, how many of my old friends are still there boothing, how many of them got, you know, kind of were like me and like, yeah, you know, because the other thing is I realized the amount of money that I'm putting in, again, the amount of time and money that I'm putting into, you know, exhibiting at a con like this. I started doing things like, you know, digital products and just selling, you know, products and things online, you know, or like print on demand, these books that I do, these comic workbooks, things like that. I figured if I focus more on that, I could make way more money than I am with all this stuff exhibiting at Comic-Con. So, and I was able to kind of build those up and everything. So I think it was a good decision for me. Everyone's different, and I'm not trying to dissuade anyone from doing conventions. If you are looking at doing conventions, go back and watch that playlist, that Pro versus Con. Some are really old, so, you know, this channel has changed, and I've been got a little more comfortable talking to the camera from some of those old videos. So some of them are can be a little, you know, it's a little bit of a slog to get through, but the information there is a lot of it's still relevant. But if you are thinking about doing conventions, there's some good stuff in there. So go back and check that stuff out. And if you happen to be in the Phoenix area coming up this weekend after I post this, come by, say hi. I'll be at Surprise Comics booth. They're comic vendor, so I don't know exactly where they are on the floor. I don't remember the booth number, but just look for them. It's a cool logo that I actually designed for them. So, and you'll probably see some banners with me and some other artists there. Stop by, say hi. That's the one thing I knew I was going to miss from not doing conventions, is just interacting with fans. And that's why I started doing, you know, more of these in-store signings and things like that, so I could still get a taste of that. And it's been really cool. It's nice to get out and meet people and do the sketches and things like that. So yeah, come by, say hi, get a sketch, whatever you want. I will be there, Phoenix Fan Fusion, this coming weekend. And like I said, I'll be back with a report letting you guys know how things went and what maybe my opinion changed. Maybe I decide, you know what, I'm gonna go back to doing what I was before. I doubt that, but you never know. So I'm gonna talk to some people, and I will be back next week with a recap of Phoenix Fan Fusion. But let me know your Comic-Con experiences. Do you kind of struggle with this? Were you doing really well doing cons? Have you not done a con at all? What is your experience? Or if you have no experience at all, if you have any questions about exhibiting at cons, let me know in the comments section, and I will see you guys later. That is all. Hey, thanks for watching. If you like what you saw and you want to see more, hit that subscribe button. Also, you can follow me at Serkworks on social media, and now you can support the work that I do on Patreon. Do you like making comics? Then go to Serkworks.com and pick up the Comic Maker Starter Kit. It's packed full of fonts, brushes, templates, and more. And best of all, it's totally free.